Picture this. You make the exact same cup of coffee you've made for the last 20 years. Same beans, same mug, same time of morning. Except this time, 10 minutes after your first sip, something is different. The jittery edge is gone. Your stomach isn't tight. Your mind feels sharp instead of wired. Nothing about your coffee changed, except one thing you dropped into the pot before you brewed it. There is one spice already sitting in most kitchen cabinets. That, combined with an ordinary cup of black coffee, changes how your body handles that first cup. And it works from the very first morning you try it. This isn't about giving up caffeine or switching to some expensive supplement. It's one inexpensive spice, prepared the right way, working with the coffee you already drink every single day. In this video, I'll show you exactly which spice, why it only works with coffee specifically, and the precise way to prepare it, because most people who have heard about this get the method wrong and feel absolutely nothing. All studies mentioned are linked in the description. Most people think of their morning coffee as one thing: caffeine. A jolt, a habit, maybe a small vice. That's the whole myth right there. Coffee reduced to a stimulant, nothing more. Here's what that myth misses. Black coffee is actually one of the richest dietary sources of polyphenols in the average diet, plant compounds tied to lower inflammation and better blood sugar control. Researchers reviewing the evidence on coffee polyphenols and metabolic health found consistent associations between these compounds and improved markers of insulin sensitivity and vascular function in adults over 50. That's a large part of why coffee keeps showing up in healthy aging research at all. But here's the catch almost nobody talks about. A published bioavailability study found that when coffee is consumed together with milk, the amount of those polyphenols your body actually absorbs drops dramatically, from roughly 68% recovered after black coffee down to around 40% with milk added. Your daily latte may be undoing most of the benefit before it even starts. So the myth isn't just that coffee is just caffeine. It's that most people are already blocking the good part without knowing it. So what actually restores and even amplifies what black coffee is already capable of? 3 small dried flower buds you've probably walked past in the spice aisle 100 times. Cloves. Cloves aren't just a holiday spice for baking. Gram for gram, clove is recognized as the single richest natural source of a compound called eugenol, with independent lab analysis measuring eugenol content between roughly 9 and 15 grams per 100 grams of dried bud, far beyond any other common kitchen spice. For comparison, cinnamon and rosemary, both prized for their own antioxidant reputation, measure only a small fraction of that concentration. A 2025 laboratory study testing eugenol directly measured its antioxidant activity at close to 80% free radical neutralization at low concentrations, alongside measurable anti-inflammatory effects on the same pathways involved in chronic low-grade inflammation. In plain terms, the compound sitting inside that little brown bud is doing real, measurable biochemical work. And when it meets the polyphenols already in your coffee, the two don't just sit side by side. They work the same neighborhood of your body at the same time. Here's why pairing them matters instead of just eating cloves on their own. Think of your gut lining as a security checkpoint. Coffee polyphenols show up at that checkpoint in large numbers, but a lot of them get turned away before they're absorbed. Eugenol behaves like an escort walking through that checkpoint. It doesn't create the polyphenols, it doesn't replace them, but its own antioxidant load appears to support the same absorption window, so more of what's in your cup actually gets used instead of passing straight through. There's a second effect: separate from absorption. Eugenol has a documented relaxing action on smooth muscle tissue, the same type of tissue lining your blood vessels and your digestive tract. That's the physiological reason people report less of that tight, anxious chest feeling from their coffee. And it's also the traditional, well-documented carminative effect Clove has always had on digestion. Less gas, less bloating, a calmer gut after a meal, or a strong cup of coffee. For some people, that difference shows up within the first few days of trying it. Here's exactly how to do this correctly, because the method matters more than the spice itself. Take 2 to 3 whole dried cloves, not ground powder. Add them to about a cup of cold water in a small pot. Bring it to a boil, then immediately drop it to a gentle simmer for 5 minutes. No longer, since the eugenol breaks down under prolonged heat. Strain out the cloves and use that infused water to brew your coffee exactly the way you normally would. Short on time in the morning? Crush 1 whole clove with the flat of a knife. Drop it straight into your freshly brewed black coffee. Let it sit 3 minutes, then remove it and drink. It's a smaller effect than the full method, but it still works. Either way, skip the milk that morning, at least for this cup, and drink it within 30 minutes of waking, before food, for the strongest and most consistent effect. Harold was 74, a retired postal worker who still walked his old delivery route for exercise most mornings. But his coffee had started working against him. Every cup left him jittery by mid-morning and bloated by early afternoon, so uncomfortable he'd nearly given up drinking it altogether. He tried the Clove method for 2 weeks. 3 cloves, 5 minutes, strained into his usual drip machine. No changes to anything else in his diet, and no expectation that anything would actually be different this time. By the 2nd week, the jitters were gone, and so was the afternoon bloating. He told me his coffee finally felt like it agreed with him for the first time in years. Nothing about the bean changed. What changed was what he added to the water before it ever touched the grounds. He mentioned that to his doctor at his next checkup, and even she was surprised. Nothing else in his routine had shifted. 2 to 3 cloves, 5 minutes of simmering, no milk, first thing in the morning. That's the entire protocol. The research on eugenol and coffee polyphenols is there. The cost is a few cents. The only thing left is whether you try it tomorrow morning.